schon, der Countdown läuft runter. In 4 Minuten geht's los und ich glaube, jetzt war, glaube ich, auch mittlerweile schon zu sehen, was wir natürlich heute hier announcen. Ich freue mich sehr, ich sag's hier nochmal, wir werden live streamen in die ganze Welt mit hoffentlich vielen Kunden und Partnern im Livestream auch, als Ankündigung hier aus Deutschland, aus Darmstadt, worüber wir uns sehr freuen. Danke, dass Sie es alle geschafft haben, pünktlich in den Raum zu kommen. Ich glaube, wir haben ein cooles Setup. Sie haben schon festgestellt, es sieht anders aus als heute Morgen. Ich finde, es sieht sehr cool aus und ich freue mich sehr, dass wir das heute hier zusammen machen. Sam wird gleich auf die Bühne kommen und den Launch-Event starten. Wie gesagt, vielen, vielen Dank. Ich sage ganz am Schluss nochmal, wenn wir durch sind, nochmal 2 Sätze, wie es mit dem Abendprogramm weitergeht, aber das machen wir dann wirklich, wenn der Launch durch ist. Von dem her erstmal viel Spaß uns allen und bis nachher.
Good afternoon to those of you, or good evening to those of you here in the audience. I'm very excited to be coming live from Germany at a fantastic event we do every year called Storage Strategy Days, where we bring together clients and partners to talk about what's happening in the storage industry and with the IBM storage portfolio. This year we're doing something really exciting. We are launching a new product here at this event. We're coming to you around the globe on this live stream, or for those of you who watch it recorded later. I think you'll find out we've got some really exciting things to talk about today, and I'm excited to jump right in. My name is Sam Warner. I'm Vice President of Product Management for the IBM Storage Portfolio. So without further ado, let me dive in. Now, I'm going to tell you something you all probably know already, that the majority of the world's most critical, mission-critical workloads run in mainframe environments. In fact, more than 70% of all transactions by value run in mainframe environments. So when you think about that, and as you're designing these environments, you have to think about, how do I create an environment that is always available, because these environments cannot go down, and how do I create really high performance? We're talking transaction processing, we're talking about the response the world sees from their applications, so you've got to maximize performance. That means it can't just be a discussion about the mainframe itself. It's always been a discussion about the mainframe plus the storage. And we've done co-innovation since as long as I can remember between mainframe and storage to ensure that performance, that consistent, predictable performance, and that high availability. I actually started my career in IBM working on a product called Shark, which was the predecessor to the DS8000. I wrote microcode on that, my first job out of college. It was more than 20 years ago. And I started my job doing caching algorithms, all about trying to get as many transactions as possible done, right? And then I shifted and started working on something we called copy services at the time, which was all about data replication. And I remember spending time with our customers whiteboarding, particularly after 9/11, how we would get much higher availability than just a simple synchronous replication. Right after that event, we realized that you might not have access to that metro area anymore. Just replicating across a river was insufficient. And so we started doing things like 3-site replication, 4-site replication, and we co-designed that with the mainframe team, with the storage team, and with our customers. The customers in this environment are incredibly critical to helping us design it, and they have continued to work with us And you'll see a lot of the things we've talked about over the years coming out in future generations of these products. But let me give you some examples of all the innovation that we've done together over the years. And it really leads the way for all of compute in how we achieve high availability. If you go way back, we started off with Hyperswap using GDPS, which allowed you to have, complete failover without any I/O impact and continue to run. We delivered things like full disk encryption. Then we went on, like I said, we delivered 3-site Metro Global Mirror so that you could not only have a local high availability solution, but also a failover option at a completely separate location. And it goes on and on. We delivered Z Hyperlink, where we were able to get response time for applications down to 18 microseconds. That was an order of magnitude improvement in latency between the mainframe and the storage. Today, DS8000 still has the best performance in the industry because of some of these innovations that we've done together. Then we've seen this rise. I talked about this huge leap of what we had to do with DR because of things like 9/11. Well, we're under another one of those situations with the rise of all these different types of cyber attacks and the new threats in the world. So we've had to completely rethink about how we protect data. So we delivered things like safeguarded copy on DS8000, which give you a logical air gap of your data within the storage array. And we've worked with the Z team to deliver Cyber Vault, which gives you a complete end-to-end recovery mechanism for if something happens. So if there is a cyber attack, your most mission-critical applications and data will be back online in a very short and predictable amount of time, so you can get things back up and running. Again, this is innovation happening both with the storage and the mainframe team together working to solve these challenges that you have. And it goes on and on, right? So this innovation comes with you, our customers, with our partners, and then with the storage teams and the mainframe teams coming together to solve these big problems. And that continues on. So the thing I would say to you is when you think about IBM Z, it's not just about the platform itself. It's about the integration of that platform with the storage. Because I can tell you when storage is not available, it is a very, very bad day, right? Nothing works without the data. I've been through it. Like I said, I used to be a developer on DS8000 or Shark. So I've been through these types of events before. So it's really about this end-to-end integrated system. And I think you'll see that we continue to focus on that in all of our innovation and development behind the product. So I'm sure by now you've guessed what the big exciting thing is we're talking about today. I'm extremely proud and privileged to get to introduce to you the new Generation 10 DS8000, which has come a long way.
Today's data centers face many diverse challenges. Data centers require constant availability. Is your storage always available? Data centers require consistent performance. Is your storage always performing? Data centers require more efficiency and capacity. Is your storage ready to handle more data? Data centers require seamless workload management. Is your storage always ready? Don't worry, IBM has got you covered. Introducing IBM Storage DS8000. Always performing. Always innovating. Always ready. IBM Storage DS8000, the 10th generation.
Who knew mainframe storage could be so flashy, right? It's a really cool looking box, at least I think it is, but it's got so much more than just looking cool. So why don't we talk about what's so special about this new DS8000? You heard the 4 things we talk about. I'm going to walk through each of those. Always available. Like I said, there's nothing more important than availability when it comes to your storage in your mainframe environment. And, I talked about when I started my career working on these systems back in the Shark days. It's come a long way since then. Back then we talked about 5 nines of availability. 5 nines of availability was the standard back then. This system here that I'm introducing today is 8 nines of availability. Think about what that means, the leaps we've taken in terms of availability for your applications. And beyond that, we have in this box now things like safeguarded copy. We integrate with other capabilities like Cyber Vault on mainframe, giving you the ability to not only be available from different types of failures or issues that could happen or disasters, but also availability from cyber attacks so that you can have predictable recovery, which is so important. On top of that, we have a huge focus around security. Obviously, this is some of the most important data to your enterprise, and security is absolutely critical. This new system has FIPS 140-3 certification, so it's ready to go with the latest security standards. We've also introduced Secure Boot, which validates the system and management console image being booted up to ensure that you don't have any vulnerabilities or any type of hack within your system. So significant improvements there. Now, I talked about this a bit already. In order to be always available, you need to have the ability to, if something happens, seamlessly, with automated response, redirect I/O to another system. And that's what you get with GDPS Hyperswap with the DS8000. We have the highest availability of any system in this field, and it's because of this integration we've done over the years with mainframe. And that also goes for Cyber Vault, again, when trying to recover from attacks. We provide synchronous replication across local sites, which gives you 0 downtime, or you could use our longer replication, asynchronous replication, and recover your entire environment in an hour using GDPS. So we have world-class, world-leading innovation when it comes to high availability and disaster recovery, as well as our capabilities around Cyber Vault and recovery from different types of cyber attacks. So availability is, top-notch, 8 nines, and lots of great capabilities to support you with DR and other types of events. Always performing. This is where it gets really exciting. Like I said, you're running more and more I/O operations. You want to be able to increase the number of transactions that you run. You need to increase the number of I/Os per second you can run against your storage, right? It can become a bottleneck if you don't continue to improve the performance. We are seeing with the new DS8000 up to 73% improvement in IOPS. Think about how significant that could be to your applications and what it means for your response times on your applications. On top of that, we've reduced transaction time by up to 2.5x with Z Hyperlink. I already told you Z Hyperlink gave us order of magnitude improvement in I/O performance, and now we're taking that to the next level. So how are we doing this? How are we achieving such great improvements in this system? Well, first of all, we have a new I/O bed, right? So this is where all of the host traffic and device traffic happens in our system. They come in pairs. You can see here that it has 8 adapter slots in it. I won't bore you too much with all of that technical detail, but the big point here is we go with PCIe Gen 4 now on the system, which doubles the throughput, the bandwidth on the system. So we've doubled the bandwidth, so you start to think about how that can help you with performance, both traffic to the back end and on the front end. So now you think about, okay, I've got PCIe 4, what can I do with that? Well, number one, we made significant improvements in Z Hyperlink. By opening up more bandwidth, we're able to do more. Now, the way Z Hyperlink works is it's a synchronous I/O. We actually keep the channel open while we complete the I/O. You take all the overhead of the SAN out and all the chatter that has to happen in an I/O with Z Hyperlink, and you go straight in with a synchronous I/O. Now that we've increased the bandwidth, we're able to go to 16K block size on DB2 reads, and we're able to introduce more applications, like now we support MQ. So, if you look at some examples of customers who have already implemented our original version of Z Hyperlink, they've seen about a 35% improvement across things like their DB2 times. And now you make that even faster with this new version. There's significant opportunity not only in DB2, but with the additional applications that we're bringing to you today. So much more opportunity to take advantage of Z Hyperlink. And now, I talked previously about the incredible performance. We're able to get as low as 16 microsecond response time. 16 microsecond response time for the mainframe I/O to this DS8000. Think what that can do for your applications. That response time is how quickly your application can get back to the user or to whatever is interfacing with it. That is very significant. Now, he said always innovating. Right? DS8000 is always innovating. What does that mean? Well, first of all, increasing the amount of capacity. This is very important for everybody, right? Data grows. We need to get better density, more capacity within the systems. We're able to get 2x the physical capacity on the system. That can be important for things like sustainability, where you need less systems, right? So now it requires less floor space, less power, less cooling, all of the things that go with it, which could be a very important thing around sustainability. Or we know there's challenges just with power in general as more and more GPUs come into data centers and consume more of that power. So what have we done? We have introduced a new flash enclosure into the DS8000. We are now all NVMe. We have both industry standard NVMe drives, but we have also brought in our flash core modules. For those of you who know our flash system line of products, you'll know our flash core modules. They're our version of NVMe drives that we develop within IBM, and they have some great capabilities in it. For example, they have built-in compression. We do hardware-level compression directly in the drive, so that as I/O comes in, we can do it using hardware assist, compress the data down to the drive. We provide thin provisioning then at the system level so you can take advantage of the extra capacity. So we give that back to you, and you're able to, with minimal performance impact to your systems, get the value of compression. So that can be a very significant value to you in your applications. Again, we are increasing the amount of capacity you can put in the system and also introducing compression. So we've doubled the throughput by going to NVMe with PCIe Gen 4. So you get significantly more I/O throughput on the back end, meaning on writes and reads that don't, where the cache doesn't come into play, you get very significant boosts in performance. In fact, we've seen a doubling of the throughput in IOPS on this back end going to NVMe with PCIe Gen 4. And the DS8000 is always ready. And what do I mean by that? So we introduced, and it was back on that earlier chart, fiber channel endpoint security. We originally called it EDIF. But the idea of it is, if your data is always encrypted within the mainframe, but then goes down to the storage unencrypted to be encrypted again, there's an exposure, right? It's not always encrypted. So how do we ensure the data is always safe? Well, we do encryption of data at all times, and that's what the fiber channel endpoint security is. The data in flight is also encrypted, so the data is never exposed. Now, at the beginning of this year, the mainframe team made a statement of direction, which is that when Z Next Plus 1 is introduced, it will only support this mode of operation. meaning you have to have fiber channel endpoint security. And they're doing that because working with our customers, we understand new regulatory requirements and all the challenges they face, that keeping the data encrypted end-to-end makes the most sense. And we've optimized it to the point, particularly by then, that it is totally seamless to you, the end user, and you get this end-to-end security. The reason why I bring this up is we currently support it today with DS8000. If you purchase the system now, you have complete investment protection all the way through ZNext Plus 1. As that new feature comes out, and that is a requirement, this DS8000 Generation 10 will already support it. So I think it's important to understand that, again, this is a place where we're working with the mainframe team to develop the most secure end-to-end system between both the Z and the storage products. So when you bring it all together, there's one other product I haven't talked about yet, which is the DS7770, which provides a virtual tape backend, which ties the whole thing out end-to-end from a life cycle of the data perspective, right? We can help you with the live high availability, predictive performance. We can help you all that with the active data, and we can provide to you the virtual tape for the full life cycle to ensure you can optimize the economics and security of your environment so that you can make sure your most important applications are always running and you can always maintain it within your existing requirements of budget and floor space and everything else that goes with the challenges of operating a data center. So to kind of bring it all back around, we talked a lot about security, efficiency, performance. We have a lot of great capabilities that don't just live in the DS8000. It's a complete system between mainframe, between Z and DS8000. We have the fiber channel endpoint security. We have our easy tier capability. We have Z Hyperlink, which completely accelerates by an order of magnitude the performance which applications run at. We've added additional applications working with the Z team that are able to take advantage of Z Hyperlink. So we continue to deliver more value there. We have transparent cloud tiering, which allows you to move data off to things like the cloud or off to our virtual tape. On top of that, high availability and disaster recovery, world-class across the board. Whether it's the GDPS automation, which ensures if something happens, you can seamlessly continue running on another system, or if you have a regional event, you can fail over to a disaster recovery site and resume within an hour. I know our competitors struggle to achieve these types of numbers. And on top of that, we bring you the cyber resiliency. So we don't stop at traditional disaster recovery, because we know while we've made huge strides and led the way in innovation, and when I say we, I mean you, our customers, along with us, along with the Z team, have really solved the biggest challenges for disaster recovery. But now with the new cyber resiliency challenges, we're working together to do things like logical air gapping of your data inside the system so that if an event happens, I can immediately restore it without having to copy it back from some other repository, where I know there's separation of duties and that data is safe no matter what. So when an event happens, I can recover. But just having that safe data is not enough. I have to be able to recover that data, which means I need automation and I need a strategy, and that's where GDPS comes in with CyberVault. Only works with DS8000, but it gives you the complete end-to-end process you need to recover from an event, including clean room, so that you can spin it up, test it, make sure everything's good in a clean room environment, so that you can bring everything back and be confident that you can resume operations without any problems. So I'm extremely excited. Hopefully you see in here the joint innovation we've been doing across the years. You can see we're bringing in the newest technology to improve performance, which of course is important. Making sure that we get you the best possible integration with Z, both for predictable performance and for high availability, which will continue to be really important. But you've heard from me. I always think it's great to hear from a customer, right? And let them tell you their experience. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to bring up two guest speakers who are going to have a conversation. I'm excited to have Walter Auerbachs, from Datev, who's going to come up here and talk about how they're leveraging DS8000, along with Ian Shave, who is our Vice President of Storage Sales for our hardware products. So with that, I'd like to invite them up to talk about what they're doing.
I'll come around this one. That's okay. Thank you, Sam. Obviously, Sam mentioned about the shark, so I feel it is upon me to say that I am also old enough and have been around long enough to have remembered the shark. I kind of do wish we had the shark fin on top. For those that remember it, we had a big thing. Many of you customers in the audience probably were waiting for their shark fin with a great anticipation, and maybe we'll bring one back one day. But so obviously Sam kind of introduced me. I've been in IBM for about 25 years now. But Walter, why don't you introduce yourself and a little bit about data?
Yeah, so I can, I have a better number. I have 42 years working in the same company, the company named Datev. So we are providing services for tax consultants. And I'm really happy. I've learned at Datev, and my statement, I ever learn. So an apprenticeship in 43 now, it's my 43 year of learning. And I'm happy learning with IBM hard and software. It's a fun. It's really funny. So some challenges are not so good, but I've solved the challenge. It's a good idea. So we are really happy to solve all of the issues. And now, actually, I'm really happy because IBM C and also DS8K is really stable and helps us to fit our SLAs. And so everything works fine.
Well, and I think it's so stable, it can come up through the floor and be wheeled out without falling over. Now that's stable, So in fact, we should probably stand, because I'm sure there's people that want to take their social media pictures and things, and they want to see these two beautiful people next to the beautiful DS8000. No? Okay, alright, so we'll move on. So, obviously, Walter, you have obviously a very large environment.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because I know you're kind of, as Sam alluded to, the always on, having that high availability is critical for your environment.
Yeah. So one of our challenges is to manage 2 times 5 petabytes in one parallel sysplace. And you can imagine this is not possible with Model 1, Model 2, Model 3, Model 9, Model 27. So our small ones are the Model 54, and we have a large amount of EAV version 1, which means 220 gigabytes, and also the large EAVs with 1 terabyte. And a colleague of mine requested to have more. So we need 4. For example, in the next one, we have 2 terabyte logical volumes to have all our UCBs fitting in one parallel sysplace. And we are doing flash copy. We are doing this as in our last resort backup. And so we have some limits of the actual system. For example, the 4 petabyte is a limitation in doing flash copy, safeguarding copy, or what else you need. And so we have the challenges with the existing systems, and the new one will help us.
So, obviously, you've obviously got a very significant environment. You've talked about huge amounts of capacity. And obviously, Sam mentioned earlier about performance predictability. How important do you see that for your kind of environments? That not only high performance, but it's how predictable it is and consistent.
Yeah. So performance is really important. In the last decade, we had some critical payroll applications. And these payroll applications are critical to the CPU speed and also to the response time of any storage subsystem. So we had tried all of storage subsystems. We had Hitachi, now Hitachi Ventana. We had EMC, now Dell EMC or only Dell. But now we are 100% of IBM DS8K. and the performance fits. I can say it doesn't fit because our operations staff puts everything what we have at midnight to the systems. And so we filled up every system. And so we get higher response times. But it doesn't matter because it's batch processing, so the response time is not important. It's important about bandwidth, and the bandwidth fits. And for example, with IntelliMagic, it's now an IBM company, we measured all of the environments, and so we decided to have the day shift and the night shift. And in the day shift, we have perfect response time. Our request to any storage vendor was and is below 1.5 milliseconds average response time. And the actual systems I can provide, whoever wants to see it, we have reached 0.25 milliseconds in response time. And this is via FICO. It's not via any C hyperlink environment, so we can improve it if we need it.
Yeah.
But this took some money, and actually our SLAs are fit, we are happy, and we don't need to provide any money. And you can imagine if we have 14 DS8000, and so we have insert C hyperlink adapters also in the IBM C environment, this costs amount of money, and so we are happy we don't need it yet.
I think just yet. Obviously, you mentioned earlier as well about the scalability of your system in terms of the scale of your system, I should say. So, how important is this increased scalability that Sam was alluding to as well, in terms of the additional capacity it's going to be able to go to the new links, Z hyperlink links? How important is that going to be for you as you move forward as well?
So the good news, we have a standardized environment. So each of our systems are up to 1 petabyte, and so we can take any additional storage subsystem, we increase our capacity, and actually in our well-done environment, and this includes IBM C, DS8000, and also the DS7700 for the backup. If you have to back up the whole data, in our case, for example, each week, we are doing a backup of approximately 3 petabytes from DASI, from DS8000 to tape DS7700. And yesterday, a colleague of mine told me, yes, everything is fine in 2 days. So this works in 48 hours. We are moving 3 petabytes from DASI to tape. And it's not the only tape traffic. The production is also active. And so we have the predecessor of safeguarded copy implemented. In our case, it's our golden image, last resort, whatever you have the right name for this implementation.
Yes, because I guess there's many of us in the audience that can remember backup windows. They are a long time ago now, but you can't afford to have systems down. You can't shut production down and leave it off overnight, unfortunately, anymore. That's all significantly changed. But obviously, you mentioned a little bit that you've started to allude to about your VTS environment. How important is that for your recovery processes as well?
So we have multiple decisions. So the first of all is every primary data is destroyed. So we can switch back to the safeguarded copy. In our case, it's actually flash copy. In the future, maybe safeguarded copy.
Yeah.
So we have an absolutely fast recovery from DASI. But in case of a destroy of all our DASI environment, this can be human errors, this can be microcode bugs, whatever. Every data is destroyed on DASI. We will restore from tape. And in tape environment, we have also implemented a logical ROM definition, so nobody inside and outside the company can destroy our last resort, our golden image. And so it took some longer if you have to mount some tapes. but it's a predictable time. With some days, everything is restored with this up to or more than 3 petabyte, and we are online again in the worst case.
Yep.
So in the simple case, this flash copy back in seconds, or the other in days. But the important thing is, we are ready to go. And then we are waiting for the open systems people to provide us virtual desktop images to work on this environment. This is more critical than to restore our controlled mainframe environment.
And that will definitely need some extra scalability as well.
Yes.
Which I'm sure your representative will be very pleased about, actually. So, now, obviously Sam also mentioned about cyber and the impacts of that. And of course, it is a very hot topic for everybody at the moment, unfortunately. It's an ever-increasing problem. Particularly here in Europe, this year we've seen huge increases. And in a recent report, it actually cited that now 30% of the cost impact of an attack is actually associated with the downtime. Now, one of the other key pieces, about 2/3 of organisations that have had to recover from an attack have said it is fundamentally different recovering from, a normal disaster situation. How important are you seeing that as part of your plans moving forward now?
Yeah. So it's the same as our golden image last resort. This also fits for the cyber attack. And decades ago, we had backups. Every company has backups. We also had backups. Backups for different applications. And the challenge was, in case of a recovery, you have different times of backup the data. And so for me, it's the best question I can do. If we have a payroll application and we have a financial booking application with different type of backup, the data doesn't fit together. And so in a cyber attack, you have to destroy anything or everything or some kinds of the data on different applications. And for this solution or for this risk, we decided to have an implementation of backup all data residing on all DS8000 systems. So we are able to implement this on a C Linux environment, but actually we have not C Linux in production, but if anybody needs it, we can provide it. So we can improve our mainframe, IBM C, COS, DS8K, TS7700 environment on our company's need.
Awesome. So I'm just so unfortunate that it's so necessary to do that now. But Walter, we could talk for hours, potentially, except I think there would be some people with some time schedules getting upset with us. I want to thank you very much indeed for agreeing to come and talk to everybody today about your environment and how the new DS8000 is going to help you moving forward. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I'm one of the first customers.
Yeah, good. Sorry about that. You're going to be one of the first.
All right. Well, hopefully that was some confirmation that what I said was mostly true, at least. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. I'd like to thank the audience here who joined us in person, and I'd like to thank everybody who joined us on the live stream. Stay tuned. There'll be more information available in data sheets and on our webpage to learn more about it or contact your IBM seller. Thank you, everybody.
Mikro? Jetzt Mikro. Okay. So, herzlichen Dank. Coole Session. Ich hoffe, es hat allen Spaß gemacht. Mir bleibt jetzt noch eigentlich nur den schönen Teil, also den unterhaltsamen Teil des Abends hier noch mit anzukündigen, den geselligen. Es gibt ab sofort, glaube ich, oder ab demnächst Getränke. Also die Bar ist quasi demnächst eröffnet hier. Und da möchte ich noch gerne ankündigen, dass anders als auf der Agenda beschrieben, es Abendessen schon ab 18:15 Uhr gibt. Das heißt, wir müssen nicht bis 19 Uhr warten, also Getränke gleich, Abendessen ab 18:15 Uhr und zwar, glaube ich, auch draußen im Foyer, so wie heute Nachmittag auch. Aber bevor wir dazu übergehen, wollte ich jetzt noch ganz kurz den Herrn Auer aus der AUX, muss ich doch noch mal einmal auf die Bühne bitten, bitte. Ich wollte mich mal ganz herzlich bedanken. Nicht nur für die jahrelange Partnerschaft mit IBM, gute, vertrauensvolle Zusammenarbeit der DATE, vielen Dank, sondern auch die Bereitschaft, heute hier dabei zu sein. Das kostet ja auch immer ein bisschen Mut, sich hier hinzustellen. Vielen, vielen Dank, dass Sie mitgemacht haben und Teil unseres DS8000 Launches waren. Vielen Dank. Dankeschön. Dann wünschen wir uns jetzt einen schönen Abend und ich hoffe, dass ich ganz viele von Ihnen euch morgen wiedersehe zum zweiten Teil, inhaltlichen Teil, aber heute Abend uns vor allem jetzt hier viel geselligen Spaß miteinander. Dankeschön.